To juice or not to juice? That is the question. So we're going to talk today, guess what? About juicing. So we'll talk about what is juicing, what are the benefits, what might be some of the downsides of juicing, because I'm going to tell you there are two camps. There are those that think that juicing is good, and there are other people who feel that juicing is not beneficial and that we should not be juicing. So I want to give you both sides of the story, so that you can make up your own mind for yourself. So we'll talk a little bit of the benefits and then some of the downsides. And then we are going to make a juice and show you a little bit about what the juicers look like, because there are many different kinds of juicers that you can purchase out on the market. So I'll give you a little bit of information on that and make a beautiful juice and call it a day. All right. So we're going to start. I guess I'll say when it comes to juicing, so I'll kind of take it back a little bit. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take it back a bit. There's juicing, and then there is smoothies, and they are different. I just want to kind of do that. Because juicing, you're using a juicer to extract just the juice, and you don't get any of the fiber when you do a juice. And you have a special juicer that you use if you're juicing at home, or you can buy juices in the store. And if you're buying them, you should be looking for cold press juices, because the orange juice and all of those juices that you get in the store, in your grocery store, are not the same as a cold pressed juice. And so we want to make sure we're getting good quality juice. Smoothies are usually they're made with a blender, and you still have all of the fiber intact from a smoothie. So when you put your fruit and your vegetables and your liquid in, and any flavorings, etc., that you have in your smoothie, you put them in the blender and you blend them until they make a thicker liquid drink. And all of the fiber from your fruits and vegetables are still in the liquid. Whereas in a juice, the part of the process of juicing is to extract all of the fiber as well, or most of the fiber. There's very little left when you're done with making a juice. And so we'll start with the benefits of juicing. So some of the benefits are that I am partial to juicing. I love juicing because it's where I got my start into my journey of improving my health. It was through juicing, and I watched a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which was a documentary about Joe Cross, who put together, he had an autoimmune disease and was on steroids and all sorts of medications. And he turned to juicing on a supervised juice fast to basically eradicate the autoimmune disease and become free of all his medications. He obviously felt a lot better, more energy, and he lost not a ton of weight, but a lot of weight, because he was over 300 pounds when he started, and got himself down to probably what would be his ideal weight. And so that was my inspiration to get started myself on my journey. So juicing is really close to my heart. And so one of the benefits that I found is I always would have a juice as part of my lunch. And what I would do is I would take a whole bunch of different fruits and vegetables, mostly mostly vegetables, about 70% vegetables and 30% fruit. And I would put them through my juicer, and I would make a couple bottles of juice and drink them. And I always felt that having the juice for lunch, I knew that I was getting my vitamins and my minerals and all of the nutrients that came with them. And and if I didn't have the greatest meals for my dinner, at least I knew that I was getting a whole bunch of nutrients in my juice for my lunch. And kind of that was where I started from. So definitely, if you are getting the juice, you're getting an increased intake. If it takes, you'll see, to get one glass of juice, you're going to need quite a bit of fruits and vegetables to make that glass. So it definitely gives you a lot in a very concentrated formula. And that also will kind of lead to the next point, which is the enhanced nutrient absorption. Because if you think of a juice as basically being an IV of vitamins and minerals into your body, because those vitamins and minerals, there's no digestion that needs to happen. They can be absorbed directly into the bloodstream when you drink them. That doesn't have to go through any process. So juicing is the fastest way to get the nutrients into your body. And so all these nutrients can actually boost your overall health. And you can use juicing as a detoxification as well. There are many fruits and vegetables that are good for detoxification. So beets are a good form of detox. Cilantro is excellent. There's ginger. There's all sorts of, lemon is good as well. So there's many different fruits and vegetables that you can juice that are really good for detoxification. They're good for hydration because, again, we're taking the fiber out. So without having the fiber, it gives us an opportunity, for hydration as well. It can boost our energy as a natural source of energy boost, rather than getting into, energy drinks and things that are full of sugar. And I mean processed sugar. It can help support our brain health, aid in our digestion, and if you have a compromise with your digestion, again, you're also getting the absorption of the nutrients directly. Like I said, it's like having an IV of nutrition into your body. And also you can customize your nutrient intake by using different fruits and vegetables in your juice. So many benefits to juicing. It's basically concentration of nutrients that you're getting into your system. However, on the downside, especially, and like I said, there are people who do not believe in juicing at all, because you're not getting any fiber. And if you are doing just a strictly fruit juice, then you're getting a lot of sugar in. Now, the recommendation that I've heard and what I go by is about 70% vegetables and 30% fruit. And what I use is green apples, because they're not as sweet and they don't have as much sugar as other apples do. And that I guess if you're taking in a lot of one type of juice, you're getting maybe a nutrient imbalance. So if you only have carrot juice, you might just be getting the nutrients from the carrots. And I think that goes for any part of our diet. We always talk about eating the rainbow and eating a variety of fruits and vegetables and plant foods, because each plant food is got a different nutrient content. And so if we're eating the rainbow, we're eating a variety, we're getting a lot of different types of nutrients. And the same goes for your juicing. Another one that is suggested is the caloric intake and getting in too many calories. So I would say with the juicing, when you talk about filling up the stomach, because it's a liquid, it's kind of the same as maybe doesn't fill up the stomach as well. But if you're doing a lot of fruits, I think that's when you're doing a lot of fruit juicing, especially that there's a concern that there's a lot of calories in that small amount of juice. And it's kind of, I would say it would be kind of akin to soda pop, where you're getting, all your calories are going in a liquid and you don't necessarily take them in. Now, the recommendation is that when you're juicing, you're not just juicing and that alone, that you're actually still having food with your juice, so that it's not just pure juice that you're getting in. But the juices can help to add nutrients and supplement you for nutrients, especially when you're trying to get your nutrient levels up. Juicing can be expensive. Definitely if you're buying your juices, I know here in Canada, they're pretty expensive. To buy a little bottle of juice can be, I don't know, $10, $15. And that they're not really, it's like 8 ounces, 1 cup. So they can be very expensive. I know when I've gone to restaurants that are on, plant-based restaurants that have juices, you can be spending for one juice at least $10. So they can be very expensive. And if you're doing it at home, buying your juicer is an investment, I'm going to say. Buying a juicer is definitely an investment. It can be time consuming depending on the kind of juicer and how often you're juicing. Another concern is your dental health. If you're having juices that have a lot of sugar or a lot of acid in them, like a lemon or citric fruits, that they can be damaging to your teeth. It is recommended that you brush your teeth or you rinse out your mouth after you're drinking a juice to make sure that any acid or sugars that are left are off your teeth. And they do have a short shelf life. The recommendation for the juice that I'm going to make for you today is that you drink it within 15 minutes of making it. So once you do the juicing, the nutrients are lost fairly quickly in the juice. So the recommendation is to drink them right away. And I'm not even going to go into the process if you want to store them, of how you can store them. Like some of the juices, like a carrot juice, you can store them and improve the shelf life. But you need to make sure that you have as little air in the container as possible. And I'm not going to go into all those details. I really just want to give you a good, kind of brief overview. This is like a juicing 101. So those are the upsides and the downsides of juicing, and then you can decide for yourself. I know in the program that I'm on myself and that I support for my clients, juicing is a part of that program because what we're trying to do is get a lot of nutrients into your body, and the juicing helps to get those nutrients in. But you're taking the juices as well with food, and it's not just 100% juices. So I just wanted to run down, and I don't know that I want to spend a ton of time on this, but I just have a list of some of the common ingredients that you will find in juicing. So leafy greens are definitely one that are good for juicing. There's kale, spinach, you'll see I'm using beet greens and Swiss chard in my juice that I'm going to make for you today. And so those leafy greens, you'll also find that there's a lot of, when you're using the leafy greens, that it takes a lot of leafy greens to give you a little bit of juice for sure. And the same thing would be with things like your herbs, like I mentioned cilantro or parsley or something like that. They're definitely, takes a lot. And if you watched us to do our wheatgrass demonstration, you have a good idea. It took two containers or two little things we grew of wheatgrass to get a tiny thimbleful of the wheatgrass once we juiced it. So those definitely are take a lot. Your root vegetables like carrots and beets will definitely have more juice when you look at those. And then celery and cucumber are great. Celery and cucumber are really good for they have quite a bit of water in them to start with. And so they actually are a really great vegetable to add more liquid to your juice. And there's something about the cucumber that's interesting, because I am not a fan of cucumbers to eat them in a salad or just to eat them, but I love them in a juice. They tend to be very mellow and very mild. So it's like they're not even there. And like I said, they add quite a bit of liquid. So that can be your friend, adding celery and cucumber. And I do know that they sell celery juice just by itself because of the hydration, and also it's really good also for a detox as well. Then there's apples that will give you that sweetness that you might want, that you probably want in your juice. And then ginger is good as well for a juice. And I think you're not going to put a ton of ginger in, because ginger is pretty spicy on the palate as well, but it can give you a nice spice. People will also put in things like cayenne pepper to kind of give a zing to their juice, and then just like sprinkle it on. You can also put like something like cinnamon too, are good to kind of give you a little flavor. So then a few other things. Lemon is good. Pineapple is really good. And what I love, so pineapple contains bromelain, which is a great enzyme for digestion. And the most of the bromelain is actually in the core. So if you have pineapple, don't get rid of the core. Don't throw the core out. Use the core for your juice. And so I used to use a little bit of the fruit and then use the core and some of the other fruit for my juices. Mint is nice as well. And that's the one thing that grows wild in my yard. And so in the summer, it's really nice to add a mint to a juice. Turmeric is good. It's actually really good as well. But it's the one that is pretty messy, because it's got that really bright yellow, and it can really stain your juicer. And then there's parsley. Other herbs, I mentioned cilantro is really good for detoxification. The heavy metals chelate onto the and kind of get sucked into the cilantro, and that's a great way to get them out of the body. So those are just some common ingredients. There's other ones as well. Most fruits and vegetables are okay to juice. The one I've never done successfully is tomatoes. I don't know. I think you can juice them, but I've never done it successfully. I wanted to talk a little bit about the kinds of juicers so that we can go on. So there's two main types, and here's the deal. So I was I interviewed the juice lady and I asked her what her recommendation is for a juicer. And I love her answer because it was, whatever juicer you will use is the best juicer. So you can buy the most expensive juicer, but if it sits and collects dust, it's no good. And so there's a balance that you need to make between the quality and there's the ease of using it, and also whether you're going to actually take it out and use. And my very first juicer was very similar to the one that you see here. It wasn't quite the same, but it is a centrifuge juicer. You can see on the right side, there's a basket, a metal basket, and that the silver part has a bunch of little tiny holes in it. And what happens is that basket is in the middle of the juicer. When you feed it through the top, the basket is spinning around like a centrifuge. And when the vegetables and fruits go into the basket, they basically get flown. They fly to the outside, and the force of the basket spinning around, the juice goes through the holes in the basket and goes into the juicer. And then this other side of the juicer, which is if on the juicer, you'll see there's the side that has on the right side has the juice. On the left side has the container where all of the fiber goes. So all of the pulp from the juice goes into that other side. And so the experts will say that because it's high force spinning around, it does create heat and it will kill off the enzymes in the juice and doesn't give you as much nutrition as the next type, which is the masticating one. Now, what I liked about my juicer is it was easy to clean, easy to put together. It was big, but they're all big. And it was easy to use, and it's usually they're less expensive. So I got mine was a good one for about $250 that I spent. The one I had, and there's lots of different types. It was a Breville, but that's the one that I had, and I didn't have they have different models, and it worked very well. And I used it for a number of years. And when I upgraded to the masticating one, which I'm going to show you next, I gave my centrifuge juicer to my daughter, and she used it and loved. She made a lot of celery juice with it, but she used it for quite a while, and then I think she gifted it to somebody else. So it's making its rounds in the community. But there's nothing wrong. Like I said, the juicer that you use, and you have to look at your budget and all of that stuff. And it has to be something that you're going to use. Otherwise, why bother? All right. So the masticating one works with an auger. So on the right, you can see the auger. And I'm going to show you a demo so you can see. But there's the auger, which basically turns. And it instead of it going by force through the spinning, like the centrifuge, this time it's basically crushing it with the auger, and that's where they call it a cold press juice. So there's no heat involved. This kind of juicer takes longer because it takes longer to do the auger. And then you'll see here, I'm just going to go back. Up at the top, you can see where you put the juice, you feed the fruit in at the top. It's a fairly big opening. And you can fit a small apple in that opening, just put a whole apple in there. Whereas this one, you see that the opening is rather small compared to the other one. And so for the masticating, especially the ones that were, I'm going to show you a new version where you don't have to chop everything up so fine. But it definitely had to chop into smaller pieces and feed it in and use a tamper to keep it going down as the auger would turn and turn and turn. So it takes longer, and on some of them, your feeder is much narrower, and so you're more prep of your fruit and vegetables before to get them to a size that they can go through that feeder. So that's some of the things, kind of the pros and cons of it all. And so I'm going to just show you, we're going to make this green vitality juice, which has got Swiss chard, romaine lettuce, beet leaves, some red cabbage, green pepper, and an apple. All right, so now we are ready to do a little demo of our juicers. So these, I've got two here. I'm going to show you a little bit different style of masticating juicer. And so this one is an Omega, which again, like I said, it's an investment. So these kind of juicers will run you, depending on what country you're in. I think in Canada, this one was $600 or $700. And I mean, you can run a juicer up to over $3,000, I think. And you might want to also, I guess a tip is to look for somebody who bought a juicer and decided they didn't like it. And they never really used it, and they can sell it to you for a good price. So that's another thing. So I'm just going to show you. So this one, I'm going to give you an idea how to put it together. It has a number of parts to it, but this is kind of the main feeder, and you would take everything and disassemble it to clean everything. And then it has, here's the auger that I mentioned that basically will crush the fruits and juices. So I add that in, and they have a little piece that goes on the end that is the kind of the filter and works with the auger. And then we have a couple pieces that go on the end to close up the end of the where the auger is. And you add that and a little piece on the end, because one of the things that from an engineering perspective is that the auger, you have to make sure if the auger is going one way, that your closing is the other way, so that it doesn't, the auger doesn't loosen the pieces. But that's about all I know. This one has a tamper that you put in here to squish down your vegetables and fruits. And, you know, you can get about this size of a fruit and vegetable. And so you do have to cut it down. And then it has two containers. The one that goes underneath this little feeder here is where the juice comes out. So you put that under, and the juice will be in here. And this one is for the pulp, and all the pulp comes out the end after it goes through the auger. And it's pretty quiet. You just basically turn it on, and the auger goes, and you keep feeding your stuff in. And that's basically how it works. So I'm going to put this juicer to the side because I'm not using it. I'm going to use my other juicer. So this other juicer is, I would say, probably a newer variety. It's called the Namo J2. And what's different about it compared to the other juicers or the juicer is that it is a masticating juicer, but instead of you feeding things through, you get to put everything into this container, which is called the hopper. You just put everything into the hopper. It has a little blade on the...
It hopped away. It hopped away.
Yay! Okay, it has a blade on that basically will feed. There's a hole in the hopper, and the blade turns so that it feeds all of, instead of you having to feed the vegetables and fruits, it feeds them for you. So that's the difference in that one. And then on the bottom, you have your part where the juice comes. So if I put this on here, the juice will come out this side here, and all of the pulp comes out the other side. And so there's a basket, which is what the auger fits in. So the juice goes through the holes in the basket, and the basket fits into this container here. And here's the auger, and you'll notice that auger is a lot fatter than the other one was much slimmer. So this auger fits into so this basket goes into this container, and then you put the auger in, and you got to make sure it's in all the way. So that's the one thing. And once you get used to, it takes a few times using your juicer to get used to the way it assembles and disassembles. But once you get used to it, it becomes like pretty easy. And then this hopper fits on top, and then it's ready to go. So I'm going to put all my fruits and vegetables in the hopper here. Oops, it's facing backwards to me. And then all of the fruits and vegetables will come out. It's pretty easy to clean, and it's definitely easy to use. And you can kind of turn it on and, put everything in and then go away for a few minutes and come back. And you'll have your juice. So that's fairly new. And then I have 2 containers that I'll put this one under here for the pulp, and this one for the juice. This little flip up thing can go down so that no juice comes out on this side. And then you can open it up and all the juice will pour out. So pretty easy to use. All right. So are we ready? I don't know if there's any questions before we make a juice.
No questions for me.
All right. Gonna make our juice now. So this is my morning juice. I decided to make it in the afternoon for you guys. And so what I do, so when you're doing your vegetables, I prep them by cleaning everything. All of my produce is organic. And that would be another thing that people say, that if you can use organic, and because there's a concentration of nutrients in the juice, if there's a lot of pesticides, you'll also get a concentration of pesticides too. So the recommendation is to use organic. So what I do is, because I'm trying to be environmentally friendly, I'm trying to minimize how much plastic I'm using. I'm not perfect, I'm just going to say, but I'm doing my best and trying. So I've got these containers, and so I'll wash this is romaine lettuce. I wash that here, and then sometimes we'll use it for a salad too. And I'll put it in one. And then I've got, when I come home, I'll wash my beets. So I'll buy beets, and I'll basically just fill the sink with water and chop the greens and the beet roots off, the bulbs off, and put them in water, wash them all up, and then put them in this container. And then when I'm ready, I just have my juice. I've also got my Swiss chard here. I've got some red cabbage, so I just cut up chunks of red cabbage and I use them. Normally I would have more beets than this, the beet greens, but I used the rest of them. And one day I was at the store and buying my beets, and somebody had taken all of the beet greens off of their beets and threw them into the garbage. And I was looking at them. Oh, I just want to take these home with me. But I decided it wasn't cool to go into the garbage to get the beet greens. It was like a produce garbage. So I don't think it would have been the end of the world, but I didn't think it was cool to do that. So I'm just going to chop them up a little bit here and put them into the hopper. So that's that. I put the greens on the bottom and then the heavier stuff on top because the greens take a little longer to kind of run around in the hopper. So I put them on the bottom to kind of weigh them down a bit rather than have them at the top. And then I've got my Swiss chard. And this is more than I would usually use 1 to 2 leaves, depending how big. But I'm going on vacation, so I want to use up as much as I can. And then I can add my romaine lettuce as well. So I'm going to use, like, basically I would use 2 handfuls of romaine lettuce in here. So let me put this on the side so you can maybe see a little bit. And I basically just chop them up, not finely, it's a very loose chop. You could probably put them in straight away, but what I find is sometimes, especially with the beet greens, they get tangled in the hopper at the bottom when they're trying to feed through to the auger. And the beauty also of juicing is you can have, if you go to the store and they sometimes have fruits and vegetables on clearance because maybe they got bruised or something. When you're juicing, it's okay. Like the bruises aren't going to really impact the juicing. So it's okay to have stuff that has bruises on it. But, when you're eating them like a whole apple or something, the bruises are, at least to me, I don't know about you, they kind of make, I'm not really crazy about eating apples with bruises all over them. You want to have them like really fresh. So that's almost full. I've got a pepper here. I cut it into quarters and then I only do one at a time. I'll cut it into quarters and put it in with the stuff. You don't necessarily want to, because they want to keep their freshness. So you only want to kind of cut them up one at a time. And then I've got my red cabbage I'll throw in here. And I think that's going to be enough. I don't think I can squeeze any more into that. So let me go here and show you. I have my apple here, but can you see that it's full here?
Yes.
Good. And
you got it good stuff.
Make sure that I put this under here. Now I got to go get my lid that fell on the floor.
It's live.
And wash it just to make sure. That always reminds me of Julia Child and her story about the chicken that she was making a cordon bleu and the chicken fell on the floor. What do? She picked it up and just did it anyway. Probably didn't eat it. And then I just turned it on. And so this one, I don't have to do anything else. I just let it go. And it'll make the juice itself. And while it's doing that, I'm going to cut up my apple. And I cut around the core. You can put the core in and it'll come out in the pulp. But I just keep the core off. There is something to be said for the apple. Seeds have some arsenic in it. So people will say not to put that in. And then I'm just going to feed, there's a little hole in the top of the hopper. I can feed that through. It does have a safety release. As soon as I open the lid, the safety, it stops so that you don't put your fingers in and get your fingers all cut up by the juicer. So definitely a safety mechanism. But you can see the hole here. I can actually feed the apple through there as well. So I'm just going to let it juice. And you can see it's going through here. So all this stuff is feeding down here into this part that's spinning around where the auger is. It feeds into there, and the juice comes out this side, and the pulp comes out this other side. You can see the pulp starting to come. There's the pulp.
It reminds me of this. I used to, when I was a child, we had Play-Doh sets, and this reminds me of one of those sets of Play-Doh.
This is the Play-Doh?
This is a Play-Doh.
Oh, yeah, I know that one where you squeeze. Yeah, I used to play with that. Yeah. There must be something to it because I remember making mud pies in my grandmother's backyard. And so if I close this, you'll see that it will stop and the juice will accumulate here. Just come and then I can.
Oh, that's much more dramatic.
One of my dogs actually likes this pulp. The other one, not so much. All right. Not quite done, but I'm going to say it's done enough. So most of it's out. And yeah, you know, if I'm doing something, I can actually put this on and go away, which is the nice thing. It's got the convenience and it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to use and easy to clean. So like for me, I like this one from a convenience perspective and ease of using it. All right. And so here we have all our juice. I made a decent amount, I would say. That was filled that up. So I find that one fill of the hopper roughly is good for one juice. I do a carrot juice and then a carrot apple juice as well every day. And for the carrots, I fill it about to 3/4 will give me a good cup of juice. So you can see how much went into just making 1 cup of juice. And that's kind of, you're talking about the concentration of the ingredients. And so this is my green vitality juice. You can use the make a mustache out of the froth. I'm going to and bon appetit. I should say cheers.
Cheers.
Now, so this one is got a little bit of sweet taste. I actually really like the taste of this. It's got a nice taste. If you're new to juicing, I will tell you that you might not like it at first because it isn't as sweet as maybe you're used to with some of the sugary drinks or the juices that you're used to. But I'm also going to say have patience and give it a go and try. And over time, and I'd say time is 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, you'll start to actually like them. And I know I have my story. When I first started, my first drink, I had my juice. It looked so good. All the vegetables were so good, and I loved it. And I took that swig of that juice, and I stopped dead in my tracks because I was like, oh my God, this tastes so awful. And I looked at the juice and I kind of thought about it. And I thought, you know what? This was a journey I wanted to take to improve my health. And so I plugged my nose and I drank it anyway. And look where I am now. It took me about 2 to 3 weeks to realize I actually started liking the taste of the juice. This one's a thumbs up for me. All right, last chance for any questions before we say goodbye. No questions?
No questions. I am a little bit surprised at how little juice there is compared like if you just hold that up. Yeah, if you just hold that up, that's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's probably you get 1/4 of the juice. Now, it all depends on the what you're juicing, because if you were juicing a cucumber, you would see more juice for the volume of vegetables you're putting in. But I have quite a bit of leafy greens in this, and honestly, they don't make as much. Now, I will say that the masticating juicer is much better with the leafy greens than the centrifuge. You won't get as much out of the centrifuge as you do out of the masticating in terms of the amount of juice. And I'm also going to say that the higher the price and the better quality of the juicer you're using, the less liquid you'll have in your pulp and the more juice that you'll get. Because with the centrifuge, what I found with the centrifuge juicer was after a while, the juicer would get clogged up a little bit. The holes would get clogged in the basket. And so I did have to replace the basket on occasion, not often, but I'd say like maybe twice a year. And as I would know that it was time to change it because the pulp would start getting quite wet, you can actually put the pulp back in and rejuice the pulp. I never do because this one is pretty good. There's a little bit of liquid, but not enough. Like when I squeeze this, I can see a little bit of my fingertips are shiny, but I don't have, like, it's not dripping with liquid. So I would not be inclined to rejuice it, but you can. Some people do. I know I have actually used the pulp of carrot juice to make crackers, believe it or not. So you can reuse the pulp, and you could use the pulp, especially the one with vegetables, like, you know, for a broth or something. So there's things you can do with the pulp as well. You don't have to throw it out. I know some people will put it in their garden. You could feed it to your animals, your dogs, cats, or whatever. Oh, I don't think the cats would eat it. Dogs, yeah, but not the cats. I think the cats would be a little fussy on vegetable pulp. But yeah, so it is quite a difference. And that's where you're getting pure nutrients here. This is how you can nutrify your body. All right. So that's it for today. We will be back with more on Monday. Have a great weekend.